Let it Let it Let it Let it
I think we're good. Good evening. Good evening. I think we're good. Good evening. Okay. Looks like that's working there. I wonder. Here I go messing with stuff, right? Let's just see which one actually looks better. I'm going to find out. We're going to find out which one looks better. While y'all are coming in, we have 55 in. Good evening. Corinda's Dawson Bonner. Elitza. Good evening, Tasha Ross. Pastor D. Crystal Adgers. Audrey Holly. Darlene. Gwyneth Douglas. Rosalind Grant. Welcome. Hello, Yolanda. Brenda Berry. Carla Townsend. She's singing our song. Hello, Erica Raymond. Cora Horn. Hello, Kingdom Health Connections. Darlene Henry. Keisha Brown. Rochelle. Good evening, Mr. Howard. Lisa Palmer. Carmen Figueroa. Aubrey Graham and Damien. Hello. Hello, Nick. Ronnie Bonner. Good evening. Vanessa. Dominique. Renee Walton. Misha. Good evening, John Booker. Gwen Tucker. Kareem. Ubi. Good evening, Carla Townsend, if I didn't say your name already. Good evening, Anya. Danielle, good evening. Happy Friday, Davita, Brittany Lamb, Chevelle, Chantil, Sabrina, Bianca, Carmen Ortiz, Leah, Noemi, Coach Ebony, I see you in the house. Leah, Diana, welcome. Crystal Adgers, Prudence, Kita. Very good. Welcome, welcome, welcome in the house. So I'm trying to discover which camera actually looked better, the one I started with or this one that I switched over to. We're up to 58. They both look good. I think Bernard hates that blurring in the background, but otherwise we probably see too much in the window, the reflection from the window. You like the first one better? Okay, let's see. Yeah. Probably have to refresh it. Okay, we're going to go with that. I think we're going to go with that. Okay. We'll see. We have a minute. We're at 60. So you see how it looks now? Which camera? Right? Okay. And then I'm going to go to my MacBook camera. Hold on one second. It's going to switch over. It's a delay. Which one? I think this one, right?
Close up,
yeah. I just have to move the screen up.
You gotta put your head down.
That's just because I'm looking at the TV right now, sir. Right there. That was what I did. So is that better? Yeah. It's definitely large and in place. I'm going to switch back one more time just so you could see.
Yeah, I like this one. I'll see that one. This is better.
MacBook is def better. Okay, so Ebony likes the MacBook too. Better than that. Is that what you're saying too? Mira.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's get with the people who get here on time. That's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to get with the people who got here on time. Good evening. Soul Detox 2023 Defense Mechanisms. We are actually on night 12. I'll correct that after. StreamYard doesn't let you edit. At least not the title once you have it. You can only edit the destination. So it is Friday, January 13th. Wow, first time I said the date all day. And this is actually the anniversary, the horrible anniversary of my mother's passing. She died January 13th, sometime, some year. I don't remember the year anymore. I know I was about 19 years old. So I'm glad to be here with such a strong community. I was filling out some paperwork the other day, and then on the paperwork it asked, it was a assessment for my coaching, and it asked, do I have a support system? Do I feel like I have a good support system? Do I have a community of people who love me? What's my level of social activity? And it felt so good that when I answered those questions, I was actually able to confidently answer them and say, yeah, I feel loved and I feel like I have a good social circle, a psychosocial dynamic. And it felt good to be able to answer that, because sometimes it's like, I don't think so. But I actually do. And it was good to answer it. And then in one of the comments, I think it ended up on the cover of the New York Times, Washington Post or the New York Times. And it said, if you want to feel better, go out with your friends. Because socializing is so important, healthy socializing. Let me make that point in here as well. But healthy socializing is very important. And so are you, Carla. healthy socializing, one with another, one-on-one conversations, intimate conversations, vulnerable, exposed conversations, and then, of course, the larger groups as well. But I wanted to share that as I try to share everything that I come across that's good. Welcome. I see y'all still coming in. We're up to 76. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, healthy. There's a difference. Not all socializing tends to be healthy. It is true. Healthy is the operative word. Absolutely. Well, while we're waiting for people to come in, did anyone claim the best seat in the house? I didn't see it as I scrolled through. I didn't see anyone said they had the best seat in the house. Go ahead, Ubi. She noticed it too. Okay, Leah did too. The MacBook camera is more up close and personal, and I guess that's the way y'all like it. So I'll stick with the MacBook. I'll take back this $300 camera. I don't need it, I guess. Shh, don't tell Bernard. He doesn't like me spending money. Okay, good. You're going to get some help finding your assessment. I'm feeling strong, now being healed and ready, feeling light. Go. That's good. Hartford, Connecticut is in the house. Good. We're up to 74. Let's see how many Friday night people are getting on. I know the weather is pretty warm, even though it's raining, so maybe some people are still out and about. Good evening, LaToya. What does Pastor D have? What is that, Pastor D? Is that a couch or a bed? Come on, Connecticut. Post your state. What state are you from? Post your state. Carla said she did a self-inventory last night and got rid of some things. Awesome. You have to turn that volume down. It's going to echo. This mic picks up everything. Springfield, Mass, Connecticut. Come on. Okay, couch. I got you. Best seat. Thank you. I see Connecticut coming in strong. Come on, share to your relatives in a different state tonight. Who can we send this to that's not in Connecticut? Oklahoma. So that is my Keisha. Is that how you show back up? We need to talk. Go ahead, Buckeye State, Ohio. All right, Florida. Come on, Delaware. All right, well, welcome in. Thanks everyone who does send in their cash apps. You are such a blessing to what we're doing here. I have my phone. Last night I actually did have my phone. It was in the pocket of the sweatpants that I had on. So it becomes something where you don't even know you have it on you, right? So thank you to Dr. Vanessa Bowling. Thank you to Damien. Thank you to Carmen Jones. Thank you to Brittany, Deja. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Gwyneth, Douglas Butterfly, Cam Jackson. Thank you again. She donated even for us to get the lighting in here situated. Thank you so much for that. Carmen Jones, Tasha Ross, Candy, Carmen Figueroa. Thank you so much, Leah. Dominique, Ebony, Janaya, thank you. Latoya, thank you. Some of y'all are repeats, and I bless you for it. I'm just going to say your name once, though. Some of y'all might not have wanted me to say it at all. Chevelle, and I think that's where it began, right there. Yes, right there. All right. So welcome. Hopefully you have registered, and it was exciting to see today. I think we just about hit 200 registrations on the website. I think we hit, we were like maybe one or two shy. Let's see where we're at. We're at 198. So we're two shy from hitting 200. So that's cool. YouTube, we're still only at 947. We really need to get that up by 53 people. And we're working on that. We have the remainder of the month, hopefully, to get that done. It would be good to have it done in a week. Let's see. Everyone should have their ebooks. The other thing, those who are waiting for their 2022 books on self-awareness, the red book, they came in today, and they're all going to be at the church tomorrow for pickup after 12 o'clock, from 12 o'clock to about 2 or 3. They'll be there, and then they'll be there again for Sunday. If you need them mailed, if you're not someone who tends the Apostles' House regularly and you need them mailed, inbox us and we'll put it in the mail tomorrow morning for you. But anyone who's been waiting, check your email. You should have gotten a fulfilled notice on your order and a shipping confirmation that they're all set to go out. Amen. All right. So how did we do last night? Those were some really tough ones, huh? Were they kind of like soul searching, acting out, regression? Did it cause some soul searching? How y'all feel about that? How did you do last night? I'm interested in knowing. Good evening. Well, just a reminder as we get ready to get started, Suzanne M. Howard Mental Health Life Coaching is not any of the viewers' counselor or life coach and is not operating in the role of being a therapist to whomever is viewing. This site is for information and education only. So thank you for tuning in. I see Minister Brittany says soul searching. Absolutely. Tasha Ross on Facebook said last night was deep. Pastor Doris on YouTube, Pastor D on YouTube says definitely. Last night was great for me. I feel light. Gwyneth on YouTube. Good evening. Made me reevaluate myself last night. That's Destiny coming in from Facebook. Beautiful. Then I see Crystal just popped up on YouTube. She said, I made some self-discoveries. Yep, me too. And every time I rewrite the book, edit the book, I go in there and I've already made some edits. So those of y'all who have the ebook, you will get another notice maybe a week after we're done here, or I may go in between and just update some more by teaching it live. So much more has come to me that I'm sending edits to my publisher and he's updating it. So you'll get another update with some of the most impactful information that I'm learning from the real time, real live teaching, confirming and revealing. Good. Same for me. Same for me. All right, so let's get ready on tonight. Tonight's another good night. And as a matter of fact, let me open this one up instead because I got some special notes over here. We are up to 80 people sleeping. Get up, wake up. It's Friday night. Okay, good. Oh, that was good. That acting out and disassociation. Ooh, let's go. So we're starting tonight. Defense mechanisms. We are dealing with number 7 out of 20. We're on a 7th defense mechanism. And this one is called disassociation. I see something there already I need to fix. So let's read. Disassociation is psychologically removing yourself from your present experience. Disassociation is psychologically removing yourself from your present experience. It isn't done consciously. It isn't done consciously. Therefore, it's easy to lose track of time and memories from time to time. So this one will actually cause some memories to be lost. I hear often from people that, is there something wrong that I don't remember much? If you want to know if you're one of those subjects that disassociate, this might be the good clue for you. This might be the clue that you actually disassociate, because you're lost track of time. You're losing memories. The person who disassociates is briefly disconnecting from reality. This disassociation allows the ego to ignore anxiety triggered by that current reality. So you should have noticed a common theme in why we create these unconscious defense mechanisms. It's all to work around anxiety. We don't like the feeling of anxiety. Our body doesn't like it. And that's why it happens unconscious. It's a system to protect us from anxiety. And so it works right around our psychological system. It works right around us. It just goes ahead and does this automatic work inside of us to protect us from anxiety. But when you don't spend the time to become self-aware, you end up doing more harm than good. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, when we end either on avoidance, or let's see if we make it to compartmentalization. But if we make it to avoidance, I will be happy with tonight's class. Okay? See your comments. I got off the comment page. All right. So disassociation is psychologically removing yourself from your present experience. It isn't done consciously. Therefore, it's easy to lose track of time and memories from that time. The person who disassociates is briefly disconnecting from reality. This disassociation allows the ego to ignore anxiety triggered by that reality. Disassociation often affects people who have experienced trauma, such as violence or childhood abuse. For example, there is a broad range of behavior that can be described as disassociation. On one end of the spectrum are common and mild disassociations, such as daydreaming or highway hypnosis. When I had to write this paper, this was the first time I had ever heard of that statement, highway hypnosis. But isn't it interesting to know that mild disassociation starts with daydreaming, or what's known as highway disassociation, highway hypnosis. At the other end of the spectrum of disassociation, in response to a trigger related to a primary trauma. So let me open up here. People in the ebook are going to end up with these notes because they didn't make it in the beginning. Highway hypnosis, also known as white line fever, is an altered mental state. So that's what disassociation is. It's an altered mental state in which a person can drive. They can operate a car, a truck, or any other kind of automobiles at great distances. They can travel cross states, cross country lines, responding to external events in the expected. So they can stop at a light. They can stop at a stop sign, but they're under a hypnosis, and it happens to them when they're driving. And they can operate safely in not all situations. There's stories, there's horrors out there. I had to do that research as well. There's, they can respond safely, but they can be in that external event reality. They can actually be in two streams of consciousness. So their external events are being handled. They're driving, stopping at the stoplights and stop signs in the correct manner, but with no recollection of having consciously done so. Have you ever gotten on the highway and got on the highway and forgot what exit you were supposed to be going to or where you were going? Have you ever passed your exit? Sometimes just out of when you have a lot on your mind, when you're used to going a particular route, when I get to the highway, sometimes I'll go because I'm used to driving into the church. So I'll get on the highway and start driving to the church, and I'm trying to figure out what I got to do today. Did I answer that message? Did I answer that email? And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh shoot, where am I going? And I have to really take a moment and pull my thoughts from the front to the front, or from the back, from the front of my mind. Like, what was I going? What was my purpose of going out today? And sometimes you can get off the highway and actually like, where am I at? Like, where am I going? Anyone ever had that? Natalie said that has happened to her a few times. Yeah. In this state, the driver's conscious mind is apparently fully focused elsewhere. So they're literally driving out of what we would call a habit. They're driving using their unconscious mind. Too much processing, too much stuff on your mind. So you're disassociating in thought. You probably don't have a dissociative disorder, but you're disassociating by thought because you have too much on your mind and you need to slow down. I see I'm not the only one. In this state, our conscious mind is fully focused elsewhere while seemingly still processing the information needed to drive safely. Highway hypnosis is a manifestation of a common process of automaticity. I can't say it tonight. Forgive me, but you get the word. The term highway hypnosis was first coined by G.W. Williams, 1963, building on the theories of the one I had to write the paper on, Ernest Hilgard in 1986, and updated and edited in 1992, that hypnosis is an altered state of awareness. Highway hypnosis is an altered state of awareness. Some theorists hold that the consciousness can develop hypnotic disassociation. In the example of highway hypnosis, one stream of consciousness is driving the car while the other is dealing with other matters on their mind. Wow. So now maybe we should all be a little kinder while we're on the highway with people, because some people may be in a hypnosis state. I was trying to think of another word, kind of like in a trance. And we're wondering why they're coming in our lane, or they're not noticing that the cars in front of them are all coming to a halt, because when they get on this highway and they see those white lines, they put them in an altered state of consciousness where they're working out other things in their conscious mind, but they're driving with their subconscious. It's wild. So it does come from some sort of trauma. The one we're talking about right now is at the lighter end of the spectrum, where you just have too much on your mind and you know you need to slow down. Pray before you get on a highway. Pray before you get in the car. An example of extreme disassociation is a person who detaches from the present when they ride as a passenger. You have some passengers that are in your car with you and they disassociate. They disconnect, they detach from the present whenever they ride as a passenger in a car after having been involved oftentimes in a tragic accident. So they learn to disconnect from the moment so that they don't have to deal with the anxiety of riding. We're not even driving now, we're just riding. And we disassociate so that we don't have to deal with the stress of that. They appear detached from the present as they are trying to mentally avoid the fear and terror of the past accident. The detachment can last for minutes, hours, days, or even longer. The detachments can last for days, minutes, hours, and even longer. Disassociation. So let's be a little more kinder when we're driving, because some people may be in a trance-like state. They may be under highway hypnosis, and we're expecting them to drive a certain way. And, we're handling our car and we're handling the road pretty well. And we expect everyone else to do it the same way. But we all know that mental health issues is on the rise, as mental health is on the decline, and people are not sober. And now that marijuana and all these other things are becoming legal, people are driving high, and we expect them to be qualified drivers with our precious cargo in the car. We have our family in the car with us. We have ourselves in the car, and we're depending on other people to make sober lane change and use signal lights and drive at a speed where they're not around other people or causing any accidents. And that is at fault on our part to expect that, because we learned on tonight, if nothing else, there's a disassociation that's even coined highway hypnosis. People are not safe drivers on the road. And don't you want to be right so badly that you just think it's okay for you to do what you want to do? When I was out today with Peyton, a car was, we were in a shopping mall, and a car just came down. She had the right of way. She didn't have a stop sign. Everyone else did. But she just flew like, I got the right of way, so I'm just going to go. And I looked and I said, oh my God. Look at this idiot, Peyton. Excuse me, y'all. And, Peyton was like, oh my God. I said, she has to be a young kid, because no adult would just go, even though they have the right of way. It's a busy intersection and cars are just going. People's minds are on other things. And she just flew in her right of way right into the traffic. And it looked crazy. And she had the right of way, but it looked crazy. She was driving way too fast. She wasn't paying attention to anyone else. She knew she had the right of way, so she was acting accordingly to that right of way. But you cannot trust other drivers. Yeah, that's right, Cheryl Johnson. I see that. So keep that in mind, and keep that in mind when you have passengers in the car with you. Now let's talk about reaction formation. We're going to move over here to reaction formation. This is the 8th defense mechanism out of our 20 that we're going to be dealing with for the next couple of days. And then we're going to show how they affect our identity, how they affect our relationships, what we can do to transpose some of them from being defense mechanisms that are maladaptive to a more adaptive coping mechanism. Reaction formation is acting in a way that is opposite to what you are feeling or thinking. These people, sometimes we would call them passive. They're so passive. And we're not always right in that term, but that's something that we would do. Reaction formation is acting in a way that is opposite to what you are feeling or thinking. By acting oppositely, a person can hide their true feelings even from themselves. Have y'all noticed the correlation that the common denominator in here is most of, if not all, we're only on number 8. I don't want to give it away. I like coming on here and acting like some of the information is new, so I can keep that excitement and that passion, even though I don't really lack that when this kind of teaching anyway. But most of these defense mechanisms are unconscious behaviors. They're automatic processes to protect us from triggers of anxiety and threats and fear and worry and all those unhealthy personalities and mindset attacks. The person will actually act opposite, because a person can hide their true feelings even from themselves. That's right, Elder Lisa. I see she has it here. I want to show. There we go. People can act opposite to the way they really feel, hiding their true feelings even from themselves. It is more likely to be a defense used by those who are out of touch with their feelings or impulses. It is more likely to be a defense used by those who are out of touch with their feelings or impulses. Most people that I have conversations with most of the time can identify how they're feeling in the moment or how they feel about a situation. Okay. It may not always be the right feeling. Later on, they may call, or the next time we have a meeting together, they may say, I thought about it and I actually feel like this. But in the moment, they're actually able to express some sort of feeling or emotion, even if it's not the same feeling and emotion that they pull on. Do you understand that there's probably about 2 or 3 feelings or emotions that you use to describe almost everything in your life with? What are yours? What are your 3 feelings or emotions that you seem to lean on to describe how you're feeling about most situations? There's so much more. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll add an appendix to the back of the book and I'll list some. But we are so shut off from the neck down on feeling and emotion in regards to our own life that we are not even aware. It's almost like we're still in elementary school when you go and the teacher has on the board. Nowadays, I think they just use those smiley faces and it has happy, sad, angry. I mean, there's like maybe 5 or 6, I think, on the board in elementary school. And it's like we limit our whole life to those few emotions and everything has to fall between those 3 or 4 things. And sometimes we don't get past 3. Okay, I see Candy on YouTube even posted frustrated, anxious, and upset. Those are her 3. Darlene on YouTube says upset, worry, and out of touch. And it's so much more. If we're going to experience life in the fullness thereof, we need to know more about feelings and emotions because we're feeling them. We are experiencing them, even if we can't describe them or are not aware of them. Minister Brittany says she usually sticks with, I'm good, hanging in there. That's how she describes most things. I'm good, okay, hanging in there. Bianca says frustrated, impatient, disappointed. We're only leaning on just a few. Not many of us have gotten past 3. Content. Sometimes we'll say we're content. I'm upset, or I'm tired, or I'm happy, I'm tired, I'm upset. I'm happy, I'm tired, I'm upset. What are your 3 feelings or emotions? They are different that you tend to lean on the most to describe most experiences and events in your life in real time. Listen to this one. This is how serious this is. It is more likely to be a defense used by those who are out of touch with their feelings or emotions. How many of y'all can say tonight, by a raising of hands or an okay on the screen, if you're not the emoji king or queen, that I believe now, maybe after this small discussion that we've had, or maybe after this 12 days of So Detox, that I believe that I am one of those people who is out of touch with my feelings. Yep. Someone else says fine. Somebody else says I'm good. I'm okay. Yep. Living life on autopilot. That's a real one right there, Erica. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. How about I don't know? Y'all ever used I don't know? That's a popular one when we just don't want to dig into it any further. When we're avoiding, this is a good one for us, when we are avoiding feeling that anxiety of an event or that moment, our defense mechanism is to be a reaction formation by saying, I'm good. I'm okay. I'll be all right. I'm fine. Or I don't know. How do you feel about that? I don't know. I don't have time to think about it. We're going to deal with that one next. I don't know, but God knows. They're not always bad answers, but there's so much more for us to experience. And when you understand your proper feelings and your proper emotions, you can use the proper words and you can get the proper help, either by helping yourself or getting help from someone else. How many of y'all going to raise your hand for me tonight or put that's me, that you believe that you may be somewhat out of touch with your feelings? I don't know is a big one for you, Pastor. I see you. My favorite is I am good or I'm doing well. Don't we learn that though? We learn that when people say, hey, how you doing? And we don't sit there and say, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what my day was like or what my week was like or what this year was like. We're like, I'm fine. How are you? Like we've learned that it's respectful to ask, but it's not respectful to be honest. Nobody cares. It's just a respect thing to do it. I see hands going up. I see that's me. So it can be this deep. Listen how deep this can be. This is why all haters don't know they're haters. Everyone who suffers with a problem with jealousy all don't know that they have a problem with jealousy. For example, of reaction formation, a person who applauds with enthusiasm when their competitor wins an award can be experiencing a reaction formation. They might be unable to acknowledge their disappointment or feeling of failure at the moment. By acting enthused for the winner, the anxiety, you see the reason here? By acting enthused for the winner, the anxiety associated with the threat to their self-esteem is avoided. So by me acting like I'm happy for you, it kills the trigger of anxiety because my self-esteem is taking a hit right now. So I have to act like I'm happy for you. I have to celebrate you. I have to clap the loudest and yell the loudest because I hurt the most. I'm reading your comments. Good responses here. Good response. It makes you think, for me, it makes me think of church. You know, when somebody is being promoted or somebody has had some great report or testimony, and the person with the mic will often say, clap for them, shout for them, dance for them, because your time is coming, as if we can't clap and shout and dance for them if our time doesn't come. That's sincere happiness for someone else. Okay, Renee, very good. I'm reading your part. Disassociation. Let's move on. Let's move on. This is a good one here. So just think, some of the things we do, we actually are doing because we're avoiding the hit in our armor of low self-esteem. So I have to celebrate you. Otherwise, I fall victim to my low self-esteem. I know I've been places and I'm looking at people and, you know, sometimes I'm so deep in my head and thoughts that I'll see people celebrating other people and getting them things, and I'll just like stare at them. And I have to catch myself sometimes because I'll be staring because I believe I pick up somewhere that it's not genuine, but you never want to think that someone else's joy in celebrating another person isn't genuine. But something I would guess just by talking off the top of my head on this live is spiritually, my discernment is going off. And I haven't quite been able to figure out why this person has caught my spiritual radar. But now in teaching this again tonight, it's bringing me back to the thought that I bet you those are some people that I'm picking up from that are actually celebrating while they're really suffering. Because I could never understand why I was so, I don't even want to say that I'm so bothered by, but it really drew my attention in and how much this person was celebrating someone else. And it was almost like the psychological profiling that I've been trained in, and then the prophetic and spiritual discernment that's on our life because of the Holy Spirit's impartation in us, that we pick up something, but sometimes we don't have the words. And now that we've learned the words, we have the education, the information, and the grammar to actually explain what we're seeing when we see things happening that we just haven't been able to understand. But my spirit always knew something was off when people tend to have to celebrate while suffering. All right, let's go and land on my good one tonight. This should take us home right on time tonight. Avoidance. avoidance. We're on number 9, and we're talking about avoidance. Avoidance. And this is what I want y'all to type in. Turning your back on problems rarely solves them. Avoidance. Turning your back on problems rarely solves them. Yeah, it is. And Cheryl Johnson, I thank you for being honest. She says, I've done that many times. And I thank you for being honest because, sometimes you're around people who, and life seems to be happening for them. And it's not that you're really not happy for them, but inside you could have just been having so many years of just things not happening for you that you start saying, okay, I truly am happy for them, but what is going on with my situation? When's my time coming? When the thing's going to change for me? And then you kind of lose the moment of celebrating them because you get stuck on what's going on in your life that's not happening. And then there's the occasion of what I'm teaching on tonight is when your self-esteem is so low, to celebrate someone else actually puts another dent in your self-esteem armor. So you have to kind of push through it. And some people have spiritual keenness and discernment, pick it up, but may not have the words to explain what it is that they're discerning from someone. So turning your back on problems rarely solves them. Avoidance. Avoidance is the refusal to think about or deal with people, places, or situations. Thank you, Rochelle. Avoidance is the refusal to think about or deal with people, places, or situations that cause anxiety or guilt. It is often used by those suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, to avoid the place where the trauma occurred. So when this study and this research first started coming about, it was often statistically proven that some countries couldn't be visited. There was a lot of men that I remember, older men, that they couldn't eat Chinese food. And it all had to do with when they were in Vietnam. They couldn't deal with anything Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. At that time, back in those days, we didn't have many, if any, Vietnamese restaurants here. But the Chinese reminded them too much, and they wouldn't eat. They kind of saw some of the eating styles when they were over there, some of the things that they eat from, and then the war that happened, that they just weren't able to eat from it. I never really understood it until I started studying trauma a lot more. So avoidance is the refusal to think about or deal with even people, y'all, places or situations that cause anxiety or guilt. That's the common denominator out of defense mechanisms. We do it. So you don't have to leave open in your mind. Now, why do I do this? Why can't I stop this? Why do I keep doing this when I learned so much in 30 days? It's because it's still a learned behavior. It's an automatic process to protect you from feeling anxiety, generally anxiety, and we can add guilt and other things to it. It is often used by those suffering from PTSD disorder. For example, a teenager who has had the experience of being stuck in an elevator might later avoid elevators as a means of avoiding the anxiety associated with that experience. The defense can be helpful for a while, but it sometimes becomes difficult to avoid the situation. I want to back up a little bit. We talked about this being avoidance is a defense mechanism, and it will even operate in such a way that we actually avoid people. Do you understand, or have you ever heard that some people actually smile when they're feeling fright or fear? There is a difference between the two, or anxiety. So you can add to the list tonight, which I'm probably going to update in my book, that smiling is a defense mechanism. And I've seen this over my lifetime at least 3 times in people. Some others are maybe questionable as I'm learning more, but at least 3 times, and not so much learning more, but there's a difference when you start learning and then you're actually able to do real life with it. So real life with it is I've probably seen 3 people that I couldn't understand why they were smiling. They were telling some of the most horrific stories that happened to them in their life, and they did it with a smile on their face. And I was sitting there like, and now that I've had more life experience with my training, I often ask them, do you realize that you're smiling while you're telling this? And they smile a little bit more. They're like, yeah, I do. I said, why do you do that? I don't know. Do you know why? And then we start talking about defense mechanisms and trauma responses. And some people literally smile instead of crying, and when they're telling the most horrific stories of their lives. Welcome, Pastor Dante. Good to see you. Yeah, Candy, that would be the same as laughing while you're upset as well. So is smiling a defense mechanism? Yes, it certainly can be. Which brings me to this point. Smiling is most, if not all of the time, a defense mechanism. And we're going to put this under this avoidance. Because if we can't avoid a triggered situation, thank you, Dante, or we can't feel comfortable with the person, the smile comes out automatically. So smiling, if not most of the time, is a defense mechanism, an instantaneous reaction. And it's not limited to any particular gender or age or even topic. You can be the trigger for someone. That's real, right? Yes. So in this case, avoidance, coping itself could lead to new problems such as inefficiency. Inefficiency. Now, let me just hit this and then we'll be going around the block to go home. We often flee from what worries us. Type that on the screen. We flee from what worries us. We flee from what worries us. Good. What happened? It went out. Good. We flee from what worries us. We put off what stresses us. That's your next line. We put off what stresses us. We put off what stresses us. And we assume that not giving importance to what hurts will sooner or later stop hurting completely. Now that's a whole line right there. Let me see if I can get the whole thing on the screen. Nope, doesn't look like I can do it. So somebody else will get it up there. We flee from what worries us. We put off what stresses us, and we assume that not giving importance to what hurts us will sooner or later stop hurting completely. Big lie. However, most of us have proven that the strategy fails because escaping from what hurts, from what worries us, in addition to not solving anything, increases the emotion that is being felt. And then, of course, intensifies the level of anxiety. Sometimes even the simple act of doing nothing is also an escape mechanism. Yeah, I saved this for Friday night. It's in my edit notes and it won't let me paste it for some reason. Oh, mics are dropping now on the screen, huh? We flee from what worries us, we put off what stresses us, and we assume that not giving importance to what hurts will sooner or later stop hurting completely. But that has been proven so wrong. It's a failed strategy. Doesn't work. Because escaping what hurts from what worries us, in addition to not solving anything in our lives, not only does it cause for prolonged problems that maybe could have been solved the first time or the third time, actually has been proven to increase our emotions that are felt with that situation, intensifies anxiety, and causes us to now spring forth another coping mechanism, a maladaptive one, escapism, escape mechanism. It is important to know that we are facing one of the most common defense mechanisms right here, right now, tonight on So Detox. Thank you, Denise. Note, right here and right now, we are addressing one of the most important. We're having a face-off with one of the most important, most commonly used defense mechanism in the field, in the world of psychology. Avoidance. These psychological constructs, enunciated, of course, by Freud in his day, continue to be an interesting phenomenon to us today. In the first place, because they help us to understand those unconscious strategies that we resort to avoid emotions or thoughts that cause them anguish. Can y'all see Adam and Eve right now? They've sinned. So they have a whole different makeup now than what God had purposed for them to be like. So God comes in, he calls for them, never had to call for them before. Adam barely answers, and they are actually facing off, not only with God, but they're facing off on what will become one of the most common fights in humanity that we will have to face off with. Dealing with unconscious strategies, because we have to resort and avoid emotions that cause us anguish that we should have never had to deal with from the beginning. So Adam and Eve's, does their hiding and their blame have more of a significance? Does it make more sense to us now that we understand that their psyche was turned on? And when they sinned and they went and hid, that they actually was operating in an avoidance defense mechanism? These are all unconscious strategies that every human resorts to avoid emotions or thought that cause them anguish. Oh, thank you very much, Denise Vargas. Listen, this is the problem right here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 words I want you to write in your journal on replay, and I want you to write on the screen tonight. Avoidance, I'm going to break it down to 4 words. Avoidance makes us immobile. Avoidance makes us immobile. Come on, 59 minutes. I just hit an hour. I got to let you go. There you go, Carla. Avoidance makes us immobile. The mind stagnates and loses the flexibility with which to develop more proactive behaviors when we choose avoidance. When we choose avoidance, it immobilizes us and it stagnates our mind, and it hinders the mind from gaining a flexibility that it would need to develop more proactive behaviors that would allow us to minimize stress. You see, in my day, we used to call it a catch-22. The more you live in this avoidance, the more you buy into this is the safe way for me. This is how I have to deal with stuff. Don't tell me how to deal with stuff. I'm not dealing with stuff the way you deal with stuff, but you're stagnating your mind from future use of being proactive against behaviors that are not allowing you to minimize stress anyway. But there is an interesting aspect to this. Avoidance behavior can be annoying because when we tend to avoid problems, it is common that we begin to experience conflict with those closest to us. Mic drop. I'm so glad we had this time together. I'm going to let y'all catch up with this little delay here, and then I'm going to say it again. When we begin to avoid problems instead of taking them head on, we experience internal conflict, but now our internal conflict is now having external conflict with those closest to us. And now it's affecting our relationships, our social circle, and our psychosocial abilities. My last, no, it ain't my last line. I got a couple more lines. Avoidant coping does not solve. Come on, type it. Avoidant coping does not solve. Who taught you that? God had to give Adam and Eve and even the snake consequences, because the consequences was helping their primitive mind to formulate more proactive thinking to survive our new fallen nature from the nature and the purpose that God had originally intended for us. He had to give consequences. It wasn't a form of punishment on how we punish people today. He was working a psychological adaptational process with them. I have to give them a consequence so they don't do it again, so they can learn to be more proactive in their behavior, because I can see after what they've done now, this is going to be problems for their generations to come. Avoidant coping does not solve. Instead, it condemns us to greater malice. No matter how delayed it is, it will show up. The best alternative is to display active coping now. Come on, I'm giving you all a way out. This is all going to be in the workbook. The best alternative is to display active coping now. How do we do this? This is where I close. Let's draw up a plan, a mechanism of action to solve what worries you. What worries you? Where do you feel out of control? Where do you feel that life brings you the most worry, fear, and stress? If you ever want to have a bowl of anxiety, the ingredients is worry, fear, and stress. There is no anxiety if you are trusting in the Lord with all your heart and leaning not to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he shall direct your paths. There is no anxiety in trusting and leaning on God. Worry is a sign of anxiety is on the way. Fear, stress, all produce is the recipe for anxiety. They teach us this. They teach us I haven't had a class yet that hasn't taught the same thing over and over again because they want us to get it, because this is one of the number one attacks against mental health right now, anxiety. And it's almost like a gateway to everything else. So the first thing we need to do is we need to draw up a plan, and we need to put a mechanism in place, not a defense mechanism, but a mechanism, a coping mechanism, an action plan to solve what worries you. So first you need to know, what worries me? What worries me? 2, let's seek support. We have a Soul Detox 2023 group page on my app. Sign into there, talk to each other, encourage each other. You never know when the coaches are going to drop in. You can be ministered to, you can be prayed for. That's the beginning of support work. Let's talk with a friend. Let's talk with a life coach. Let's talk with a minister. Let's talk with a pastor. Let's talk to a specialized professional. Let's begin to open up and share our worries, our fears, those stressors that cause anxiety. Because the goal is to streamline them and find safety and relief. How many don't want to have a life with safety and relief? If you found yourself in this avoidant personality type, this defense mechanism, this is maladaptive. It is unhealthy. And it has long-term effects. Don't worry about the medication and the alcohol and the stuff that you're smoking. This has a long-term effect on it. And you will never get free from addictions and physical ailments in your body if you don't deal with why you are avoiding what you're avoiding. The people, the places, and the things. So let's draw up a plan. Number 1, let's make a mechanism of action to solve what worries you. Let's seek support. Talk to a friend, a counselor, a mental health specialist, a people helper, such as pastors and ministers. And when you get with them, share your fears, share your anxieties, your stress, because the goal is to streamline them and find safety and relief. And that's your goal. So 4-step process. You can start right now. Let's practice some deep breathing exercises as well. Start doing that every day. In the car, out the car, just start your deep breathing exercises. It's all through the Holy Spirit. And then let's do something every day that allows us to take a proactive rather than a passive approach towards your life. I'll recite it again and then I'm closing down. Draw up a plan that includes a mechanism of action to solve what worries you. Number 2, seek support. Talk up to a friend. Start there. Start with a minister, a pastor, a mental health coach. Get a specialized professional. Share your fears with them, your anxieties, your stressors. Because there's a goal here. And your goal, number 3, is to streamline those and find safety and relief. And then we're going to make an addendum and we're going to add in here breathing exercises, and to make sure that you do something every single day that allows you to take a proactive rather than a passive approach to your life, to what worries you, what stresses you, what causes anxiety, fear, all the places of unhappiness, no matter where they are. Because places nowadays that are supposed to make you happy can bring you stress if you live your life by the avoidance approach. God bless you. Thank you for being with me tonight. Tomorrow night, I think I can feel the Lord pressing upon me today that we're going to go in and we're going to start doing a little more healing prayers, contemplative prayers, integration prayers. And we're going to do some body healing tomorrow night, and we'll deal with compartmentalization, and maybe we'll get to displacement. I'm not sure, but I know tomorrow's going to be a night of healing for us. So I'm done. You can email us. You can check out the website. I hope all your assessments are in. Whoops. Thank you, God, I didn't do it. I want to remind you that I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. God bless you all. Thank you for your time. You're most valued here. In Jesus' name, good night.
Let it Let it Let